mindset and your habits. Okay. Those are the things that are going to dictate your success in this business 100% of the time. Okay. A lot of times you hear a lot about objections. You hear a lot about leads. You hear a lot about, what do I say to the client? Or should I post the same ad on marketing that Torian posted? Or, if I got the same hat as Riyadh, would I sell more? Like, I don't really know. The reality is, guys, the business, even though all this stuff seems like you're like, yeah, Marissa, that's obviously what the business is about. It comes down 100%, regardless of all the logistical stuff, who you're calling, what time you're calling them, all that stuff. It comes down 100% to your mindset and your habits. Okay. So I'm going to go over a couple things, guys, because here's the reality, guys. Drop in the chat. Okay. So we've all had days that we want to quit the business. Like I've had a bunch of these days, or that I got no-showed. I had a really bad dial day and I was like, what the heck am I even doing here? I don't even know if I should do this anymore. Like, what's going on? So drop in the chat a 3, because I haven't used the number 3. Drop it in the chat a 3 if you've ever had a really bad day that you were like, I don't know if I should do this anymore. Whether it was a bad dial day, I got no-showed a bunch of times, everyone on the phone told me to screw off. You're like, you had negativity in your outside circle telling you like, are you really doing that insurance thing? Okay, so a lot of us, guys, even our top producers, right? I see our top producers that do 30, 40, 50 grand a month drop in 3s. Okay, so that's my first point, guys, is that you're always going to have times in the business where you're like, dude, I had a really hard day. Okay. And so here's the 3 things. I wrote down 3 things. Okay. On how I manage that. Oh, Mecca said she hasn't had one of those yet. Well, we love you. We love you, girl. It's coming, but we'll love you. So here's the deal, guys. These are the 3 things on how I keep my mindset in the right place. Okay. The first thing is gratitude. Okay. If you guys were on the call last week, Marissa Mazziotti, she said something really good. And I've also heard this before, like Austin Hatch, he spoke at convention last year, said this: you can't be grateful and negative at the same time, right? Marissa Mazziotti last week, she hit it right on the head. She said, if you're not thankful for the business will not be thankful for you. And even though that's dumb, guys, and general, guys, I'm a cynic. So when I first came into the business and I heard somebody else tell me this, I was like, that's the stupidest thing I ever heard. Like, that's not true, right? You just call the leads, buy the leads, whatever. But then, guys, I saw it with my own eyes, and I've told this story before. I've complained about leads, and then I've watched somebody sell those exact same leads I complained about. I've come into the office with a bad negative mindset and watched everybody hang up on me, right? So here's the deal, guys. If you are not thankful to the business every single day, and you don't have gratitude that we have this opportunity, even on the shitty days, even on the bad days, the business will not be grateful for you. It will not. You'll have a bad day and you'll be talking bad about the leads, and Desiree, who has a good attitude that day, for whatever it is, it's God, it's the universe, it's whatever you believe in, Desiree will call that exact same lead and she will sell it simply because she was grateful for the opportunity. So here's the deal, guys. We have the best opportunity in America to make money, bar none. Like, there's no, like, even if you have, like, if your friends are here, they're not here, you're like, I don't even, my family hates us, whatever. Regardless of anything going on in your life, this is the best opportunity, the best vehicle to make money in America, bar none, right? You get to work your own schedule, you get to make your own thing. You're completely independent. It's no ceiling, low barrier of entry, right? You guys had to pass a test. Like, it was literally 100 questions on the test. And then you got to become an insurance. You had to get some fingerprints. You got to become an insurance license. Okay. People go to school for years and years and years and don't have the opportunity to do what we can do here. You can get paid in 2 days. You have unlimited lead sources, unlimited carriers. Like, it's ridiculous. Your compensation is the highest. So that's my first thing, guys, is gratitude. Every single day, even on the days that are not good, I have to have gratitude for this opportunity that I even get to do this. Okay. And you have to have a get to do this mentality. Like, if you wake up and you're like, I have to dial, it's going to suck. Or you wake up and you're like, I get to dial today. That's pretty cool. Pretty cool. I get to dial some leads. Pretty cool. I get to get hung up on a little bit today, but I'm also going to get to help some families. It's going to make a huge difference. So you have to be grateful that you even get to do this. Okay. Second thing, guys, is I always ask myself, plan B. If you don't have a plan B, dude, you have no room to just be complaining about your day. You have to stay right up here, because if you're not right up here, the business will eat you alive. That's what I ask myself all the time. If I have a shitty day, if I get no-showed, if I have dials, if I am like, hey, I don't know, this sucked, whatever it is, I had roll-up debt, right? We'll talk about roll-up debt when you start building an agency. I ask myself, okay, Marissa, if you stopped doing this tomorrow, what would you do? You know what my answer is? Go back to my old job. Go back to, I don't know, maybe I would go back to school again. Like, for what? I would go get a job at a restaurant, which I worked in the restaurant industry for a long time. And if my plan B, if all those ideas that I come up with in my head is not better than this, then I just throw it out the table. Like, it's gone. Okay. Because if you really don't know what you would do, right? If you tell me, hey, Marissa, I have a bunch of other businesses, or I'm like a very successful, CEO of this company, or I'm a very, even like, right. I know we have a lot of nurses on our team. You're like, dude, I actually like kill it as a nurse. Like I would just go continue to try promote as a nurse, like that. And your plan B seems like it would work for you. Then that's not for me, right? Because I don't have that, right? My plan B is like, I don't got a plan B. And whatever my plan B would be, it would suck more than this. Like I would much rather get hung up on every single day than go back to my old job. Okay. So ask yourself every single day when you have a hard day, when people hang up on you, like, what's your plan B? If you don't have one, or your plan B that you do have sucks more than this, just get back on the phones. Don't even waste any time thinking about it. Get some more leads, get back on the phones, get some more leads, get back on the phone. Okay. All right. Number 3, guys. Here's where my number 3 is. So first I'm like, okay, I got to be grateful for the opportunity. Second one is I ask myself what my plan B is whenever I'm having a hard day in the business. Okay. And the third thing that I do is I got to just bring myself some hard, tough love perspective. Okay, guys. And here it is. You're in sales. Okay. At the end of the day, yes, we have the best opportunity to make money in America right now, but you're in sales. Sales is hard sometimes. Okay. If you didn't want to do something that was hard or this was easy, everybody would do it. If you wanted to do something that was easy, you could go drive Uber. If you wanted, you could deliver groceries. I heard a lot of people like, dude, I order Instacart all the time. You could go start like those things, affiliate marketing online. You're like, cool, I just post some reviews and Lululemon sends me 20 cents every time I post a review or whatever it is. There's a lot of things, guys, out there that are easier than this. Okay. But you are in sales. Okay. Most of you came here. So I have to bring myself, most of you came here to make upwards of 6 figures, if not more. Okay. You're not going to make more money than 75% of people in America and have an easier ride. That's not going to happen. Where does that exist? Right? That's like, hey, I want to eat cookies and cakes and donuts every single day and have like the coolest life and take naps all day, but I want to have a 6-pack of abs and I just want to be in shape. Like that's never going to happen. So sometimes I have to wake myself up and be like, Marissa, you're in sales. I don't know if you forgot that. Yes, we have the best model. Yes, we have best opportunity. Yes, we have the highest compensation. But at the end of the day, bare bones, you're in sales. And when you wanted to work in sales independently for yourself, you signed up for some hard days. And that's it. That's the end of the conversation. Because you can talk about it and you can go through, but at the end, you're in sales, guys. You are a salesperson. Okay, that's what it is. Okay. And then also with that third one, guys, is just comes from perspective. Okay. So this is a stupid story, but it really spoke to me and I've been thinking about it all weekend. Saturday at literally 6:30, I called my nail artist, my nail guy, and I called him and his name's Victor. I'm like, Victor, are you still open? I know it's a Saturday. I just landed. Can I come get my nails done? It's the only time I can come. Okay. He's like, no, Marissa, I close. I go, Victor, come on, dude. I always take care of you. He's like, you know what? You're right. I'll stay open for you. I'll stay open until 7:30. Just hurry up. Can you get here like ASAP? I'll do your nails. I'm like, cool. So Victor stays open because here's the thing. Victor needs to make money for his family. So he's going to stay there till 8 p.m. even though he doesn't want to. Okay. So I go, I'm talking to Victor. He's from Vietnam. Okay. He was born at Vietnam because I'm getting all the story. I'm like, it's 6:30 on Saturday. Like, what else do I have? So I'm getting all the story. I'm originally thinking like I should get this guy for some life insurance, but okay, whatever. So I asked Victor, hey dude, like, where are you from? He's like, I was born in Vietnam and then I moved to China. Okay. And he said, then when I was in China, we had our first kid. We have a boy. We have our first boy. And then I was like, oh, cool. And then you guys all moved to the United States. And he's like, no, I moved to the United States. And I was like, oh, you came by yourself. You left your wife and kid in China. And I was like, Victor, why don't you have more kids? He's like, well, at that time in China, when I had my first kid, they had like a rule in China that you really only could have one kid. Like we weren't allowed to have more. And he's like, my wife really wanted, but we could just have one. And I was like, wow, that's crazy. And I was like, so you came over here. And then he's like, and I thought my wife was going to be able to come over a couple of weeks later with my son. And he's like, it ended up being 7 years. So he's like, 7 years I was here in America, starting the salon, grinding, working every single day, trying to make money for my family. And for 7 years, my wife and my son, my brand new born son, could not come with me to America. So, and I was like, that's how many times did you see them? He's like, I got to see them 3 times. Because he had to come to America to make way. He's like, I thought I was going to get him a couple of weeks later. I couldn't. So I'm like, 7 years of your child's life that you had to miss because you were here starting your life, starting your business, whatever. And he's like, and then eventually, like, obviously, it was great. They got to come over and they had another baby when they got to America. So they're really excited. But like, think about that, guys, right? Like everyone else. And I'm not like what Gorgeous said, like choose your heart, right? Like we're complaining about being able to dial the phone. We're complaining about being able to buy leads. We're complaining about being able to sell insurance and make $1,000 in 45 minutes if you close it. We're complaining about being independent producers. We're complaining about, oh my goodness, I only closed 5 instead of 7. Or we're complaining, like this guy had 7 years where he did not get to see his family because they were in another country and he had to come over here and work and grind. And he's like, I just sent money back to them. He's like, everything I made, I just sent back to my wife and my kid. So like, and he's like, and I'm in sales, right? And he's like, and this has been a grind. Like we had 2 salons that were shut down and I had to keep going. So the reality is, guys, what we do is like, it's of such a blessing that other people are dealing with stuff on their daily basis, that this wouldn't even be like, they'd be like, wow, Marissa, you had some people hang up on you. Like, wow, you're like, your life is so hard. Right. So like my third one is perspective, reminding yourself that you are in sales, and basically, like, for lack of better terms, like get over it. Right. Like get over Marissa. Like you had some people hang up on you, like just do the same thing again tomorrow. So those are my 3 things. Riyadh, I talked to you earlier. You're the top producer on our entire team. I'd love to hear some things because I know these guys all have hard days. What are some things, like what's your mindset behind the business? Like how do you keep a healthy mindset?
How candid do you want me to be? I don't want people to hate me for being like very straightforward.
Oh, we want you to go all the way in.
All right. So, for me, I just don't leave myself any options, right? Just like you said earlier, I don't have a plan B. I never had since I started. I knew how good this opportunity was. Why would I have a plan B? Just go all in, and that's what I do each and every day. I would say in the beginning, it is very hard, right? I've gotten to a point where I'm able to automate a lot of my business or delegate it to other people because I have put the work in, right? So for me, I have everything automated to where money comes out of my account to pay for my leads, my appointment setters, all this stuff. So I know it's time to get to work, right? So that's one thing for me right now. When I started, I knew I wanted to shorten my learning curve with this. I didn't want to take 6 months to get good at it, a year to get good at it. I wanted to be good like right away. So I worked a ton. I mean, we're talking, I would clock in at 8 and I would work until 9:30. And in between, when I was driving, because I started in the field, I would watch video after video after video. Then when I got home, I would still study more. So I did that like nonstop. My first month I did, because I was still working, I did 20,000 issue paid. Second month after I quit, I did 40,000. The only way that I was able to do that was by grinding my butt off, right? So for me now, automating everything has helped immensely. That way I don't have to think about it. I just do my appointments. I, do my recruiting. All that stuff is pretty much there. For you guys that are struggling with mindset, I think you just got to kind of look within yourself, and I don't know, you guys need to leave yourself no option. I feel like a lot of people that come onto this, like I'm pretty sure like there's 94 people on right now. We all came onto this to have a better life than a 9-to-5 job. Right? Wouldn't you assume so, Marissa? Otherwise, why would we do this?
Yeah. I mean,
So,
I don't know.
but are you guys really putting in the work to have that different outcome, right? I think a lot of people, they come here and they think it's going to be easier. You posted something on your social media the other day where someone was like, I want to work for myself. It's going to be easier, right? I'll have more time to do this or that. It's not easier, right? There's like, we're able to make 40, 50 grand a month here. It's not easy. It's hard, right? But I leave myself no choice. I just do the same thing day in and day out. And I am not like more special than any of you guys. I'm not. But like, if you show me your calendar and we line it up against mine, I already know. Like, I know why some of you guys aren't issue paying 10, 15, 20, 30 grand.
So Riyadh, I want to ask you, because something I see all the time, and I fall into this a lot, and this is something you're so good at. So a lot of times people let their outside surroundings or things with their family or like a lot of personal business, like, hey, I had this happen in my family, or I have this going on in my family, or I have this happening with my ex-boyfriend's cousin, whatever it is. And it's just really affecting me mentally. Right. And then it's like, okay, dude, but you haven't worked in it. So how do you, because I think that's the biggest thing. How do you keep your business and what's going on in your personal life separate and still show up every single day?
Yeah, so we're all human, right? Something happens, we're going to be affected by it, whether it's emotionally or physically or whatever. You take whatever amount of time you need, shouldn't be longer than a few days. You pick yourself back up and you get back to it, right? If, like, let's say you have a family member pass and you're working for a job, you're going to be able to take some time off with your PTO, but then you got to go back to work. Here, I feel like people are like, oh, I'm just going to not work for like weeks at a time, months at a time, because we are able to make that, you know, quick, easy money with advances and whatnot. But for me, I've just learned to compartmentalize that stuff, right? So I have, you know, I have some stuff going on in my life right now. I'm not letting it affect me because this is my business.
Yeah. And I
Not
think what
gonna
you
let it.
said is such a good point. Like, ask yourself, if I worked a normal job, would I be allowed to take time off for that? Because a lot of times we like, there, you know, there's like, oh, this happened with, I just, you know, something happened this morning, and it's like, but if you worked a real job, you couldn't be like, hey, my cousin's dog passed away, I can't come to work today. They'd be like, Riyadh, your cousin's dog, like, what are you talking about? So like, if, right, like, you have to realize, like, if you couldn't do that in the real world, you shouldn't do it here. Like, they don't give you 2 weeks of, you know, I feel bad if something happened to your cousin's dog, but they don't give you 2 weeks of cousin's dog leave, right? Or like, they don't, if you're like, I have some people that are like, oh my goodness, my sister, something happened, it was so crazy, I had to pick up, you know, had to pick up their kids from school. And it's like, yeah, but if you were at a real job, you couldn't actually leave your job to go do that. So I asked myself that too. That's such a good point. Like, if you couldn't do this, if you were employed by somebody else, you shouldn't be allowed to do it when you're employed by yourself.
Why would you want to do it when you're employed for yourself, right? You should be doing more for yourself than you would do for someone else, right? You're building someone else's dream. You're going to go to work when you're feeling crappy. You might as well do it for yourself. And I think just, we have the habit of just, like you said earlier, complaining and coming up with excuses and stuff like that. I've just gotten really good at, I don't blame anyone else. I don't get down on myself. I just go to work. Like, you got to pull the emotion out of it. And this is coming from someone that does wear his heart on his sleeve. I'm an emotional guy. Like, in the past, I've let stuff affect me quite a bit, but you do have to learn to separate that. And when it comes to this business, I just don't think. I just do my appointments every single day. I do the same thing over and over and over. And that's the result that you see, you know, on the leaderboards. I don't change. It's nothing special, guys. Right now, I'm running 60 appointments a week. 30 of them show up. So I get to talk to 30 people. I'm average selling 10 of those. It's nothing special. It's just a numbers game. Whenever I say something too, I make sure that I do it. I think that's huge, having accountability for yourself. Like, at our convention last year, I told you I was going to hit Hall of Fame again. If I don't do that, like, not only am I just talking, but I'm letting myself down, right? So I had it on my whiteboard the entire year, and every single week I would go and update how much I'm at. And I had a plan there of what I need to do to hit it. And I just did it every single day.
Yeah, that's huge.
Nothing special.
All right, guys. So we have 4 minutes left for the hour. If you guys want to get off, you can. I'm going to finish kind of what I had planned real quick. Riyadh, thank you so much. And I'm going to come back to you guys in a couple minutes as well. But the second part, guys, was habits. Okay. So your mindset in the business, and then your habits in the business, which I think Riyadh kind of got into, like, his daily, like, habits of what he does every single day, which is a perfect segue. So another conversation, guys, I asked Sean the other day, and I was like, okay, no BS answer, no motivational answer, no Marissa, get over yourself advancer. Like, seriously, legitimately, there are some people that come into the business and they end up quitting, right? What do you think? And I asked him point blank, what do you think the main reason is for people coming here and not doing well and ending up quitting? And he said, that's a great question. I won't give you a BS answer. He said, we're dealing with learned behavior. And what we're battling every single day is learned behavior and people's learned behavior, right? So your learned behavior, you learn from your parents, right? If you saw your parents work a certain way for the entirety of your life, that's probably what you know as work. Okay. Then you started to do it, right? Everything is learned behavior. Okay. So anything that you do right now, you're working out. If you work out of it, that's learned behavior. You had to learn to get up every single day to go to the gym. That doesn't just happen overnight. Okay. It's like a training. And even though I hate to compare it, like, you're conditioned to do what you saw be done. Okay. So if you didn't grow up your entire life seeing your parents be independent contractors as insurance agents, and then you naturally got into being an independent contractor for an insurance agent, you wouldn't know those learned behaviors. right? Same things when you try to stop doing something. If your learned behavior is to vape, right? Like my sister's a vapor and I keep telling her to quit vaping because she just got this habit, right? It's just like habits. Every single day we have good habits and we have bad habits, and those are learned behaviors. You taught yourself how to do that, or somebody taught you how to do that. Okay. So most of the time in this business, we didn't grow up seeing our parents do it. We didn't grow up seeing the people around us. We weren't conditioned to know the behaviors and the habits that we need to know. Right. So same thing in your daily life. Like I have a learned behavior of, if I sleep in too late, or I have a learned behavior of I go to the gym, and then you can also unlearn those behaviors. Right. So he said that's the biggest thing is we're battling people's learned behaviors every single day. They grew up not knowing what it looks like to be independent. They grew up not having the habits. And now when you come into this business, you have to retrain yourself and you have to help retrain them. And sometimes people aren't trainable. That's what he said. Sometimes people are not willing to have new learned behaviors and do those things every day until it becomes a learned behavior. And they're not willing to break the habits that they've grown up with or the habits that they've had previously. Right. And those can be anything, right? If you were in a job for 20 years, you probably have a lot of learned behavior from that job. And when you get here, you're like, well, I don't do the same thing. Right. That's why there's some salespeople that they're like, I have 20 years of sales experience, and they come here and I'm like, Riyadh, dude, I've been working with you for a while, but your 20 years of sales experience is actually hurting me because you have learned behavior that doesn't work here. It's not the learned behavior that we want you to have. So your 20 years of experience is great, but it's 20 years of experience that's not good for this particular thing. Right? If you spent 20 years in a 9 to 5, your learned behavior is I clock in at 9 and I'm off at 5, and I don't work the weekends and I don't work the nights. So those are all learned behaviors. So he said, that's the biggest thing is it's not the leads. It's not the sales. It's not the comp. It's not anything of that. He said, people quit because they can't figure out how to break their old bad habits, and they can't figure out how to learn new behaviors for this particular business that they need to learn. And I was like, well, that's really good. So real quick, guys, in this business, your habits and your learned behaviors that you need to do everything you can to learn them and make them become natural to you, right? And your habits have to be for your success. One, purchasing leads or generating leads or obtaining leads in some fashion has to be a learned behavior. Okay. So you have to get in the habit of it. If I do it on Mondays, I do it on Mondays. If I do it every Monday and Thursday, I do it every single Monday and Thursday. And your thing might be different, right? If you say, hey, I do it every time I have if you do live transfers, right? And you're like, every time I drop below 500, I reload, or every time I've called all my leads, I reload. Whatever your thing is, those have to become adopted into your daily habit no matter what. So if you say, I'm going to buy leads every single Monday and it's going to be $1,000 every single Monday, then no matter what happens for the whole week, every single Monday, it has to be a learned behavior that you buy your $1,000 worth of leads. Even if you didn't hit your goals last week, even if you're like, wow, that wasn't what I want. Even if you're like, maybe I can wait till Wednesday and then I could just get those. And then I'll just get 350 instead of 500 because I don't really know. That's right. That's not creating a habit. Your habit has to be obtaining leads, right? Torian does a lot of marketing for himself. So his learned behavior, yes, he's going to buy leads because he still does, but maybe he posts an ad every single Monday or every single Tuesday. And then he messages 100 people. Right? You hear these people that like I message 100 people every single day and I see if they need life insurance, or I ask to recruit them. 100 people every day or 100 people every week or 3 interviews a week, those can all become learned behaviors. Okay. So the first one you have to get leads or obtain leads. Okay. And those can't be like one-off inconsistent things. That's not a habit. If you're like, I bought leads one time, well, you don't have a habit of buying leads. You bought lead one time. If you're like, I bought leads 3 times, well, you bought leads 3 times. You don't have a habit of buying leads. You don't have a learned behavior of buying leads. Okay, so leads obtaining them in some fashion has to become a habit. Okay, the second thing is that dialing every single day or whatever your schedule is has to become a learned behavior. It has to be. It has to be like, just like if you're, even some bad habits, right? Like if you're like every single day, I wake up and I eat a cookie, whatever it is, and you're like, I just learned to eat my cookie every single. Dialing has to be like that. It has to be like, I cannot live without it. It has to be, you cannot and will not ever make money in the business. And Riyadh says, I automated a lot of stuff after he dialed his ass off for 1.5 years before he ever got a dialer. So that will happen. But dialing has to be a learned behavior. And here's why. Because also, if you don't learn the behavior, you can't teach anybody the behavior. So you want to know why Riyadh's dialers do so good? Because he trained his dialers with what he knew how to do. You can't get a dialer and train somebody to learn behavior that you don't even have. Right? So dialing has to be a behavior. It has to be a habit. It has to be, if you're telesales, it has to be every single day. It has to be, and you can set your goals. Maybe it's, I make 500 dials a day minimally, no matter what. That's a behavior. If you didn't hit 500, that's not a habit. Okay. If you're like, sometimes I dial 200 dials, sometimes I dial 36, sometimes I dial 72, and sometimes I dial 500. That's not a habit. That's not a learned behavior. A learned behavior is every single day I dial 500 dials, no matter what. That's a habit. Okay. Number 3 is your schedule. Okay. Planning it out. Your schedule is also your habit, right? If you're like, well, sometimes on Friday I go out to lunch and I go out to happy hour, and then sometimes I schedule my doctor's appointment for Thursday, and sometimes they only have 10 o'clock. So I go at 10 o'clock, and I don't know, on Tuesdays and Thursdays, I sometimes pick up my kids, but that your whole life is chaotic and it's inconsistent. Those aren't habits. Okay. So you have to create your schedule to be built around your learned behavior. So every single Monday, I know I do this. Every single Tuesday, I know I do this. Every single Wednesday, I know I'm running appointments at this and this and this time. I know I'm dialing at this and this and this point. I know that this is how many leads I'm calling. This is how many leads I'm buying. This is when I'm doing my recruiting calls, whatever it is, right? Someone asked me today, they're like, I'm trying to sell a lot. When am I supposed to recruit? I'm like, you need to put your recruits in your schedule block for that block. If you recruit between the hours of 12 and 10, then you recruit between 12 and 10. That's it. Or 10 and 12. Okay. And then the rest goes back to your dialing. Whatever your schedule is going to be, you can make your schedule be an entire habit of learned behaviors. Okay. And actually planning it out. Sometimes I'm like, what are you doing on, Wednesday? And people are like, I don't really know. Probably, maybe dialing. Maybe I don't know. I got some things. I'm gonna check with my family, check with my friends. And then like, I don't know, I might grab some leads. Like that is not a habit, guys. You'll never be successful just winging it in the business. The more structured and stable you can make your life, the more successful you'll be. Riyadh is the most structured person I've ever seen probably in the business at all. And that's why he makes 400 grand a year, minimally, right? And it doesn't have to be, hey, I'm going to work every single day, until my fingers bleed, but if you can even schedule out, even if you started with, hey, every single day I work and I dial and I don't stop from from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m., that would probably be a lot more hours than you're already doing right now. Okay. So your schedule has to become a learned behavior. Okay. Objections, right? Overcoming objections is a learned behavior. You only learn how to overcome objections by overcoming a lot of objections. Okay. If you have a bad habit on the phone, the only time you break a bad habit is to continue to break the bad habit. You're not just going to wake up and be like, I know how to overcome objections. Riyadh learned, Desi learned, Tyler learned, Diego learned by getting a lot of objections and realizing how to handle what was thrown at them. Okay. Overcoming objections is a learned behavior. It's a habit you have to get good at, a habit you have to create. You have to get a confidence, right? That's like, hey, I know what, if they say I'm not interested, I know how to overcome it. If they say I already filled it out, I know how to overcome it. If they say take me off the list, I know how to overcome it. If they say go F yourself, I know how to overcome it, right? That has to become, objections are a learned behavior. If you're not dialing enough to get enough objections, you will never overcome objections. They'll be like, hey, I don't know how to overcome the objection. I'm like, well, how many people give you that objection? I don't know, 3. It's like, yeah, of course you're not. That's not a habit. You just barely got started. You need like 100 people to give you that objection. And if you can overcome it 70% of the time, then that's what we're working for. Right. Okay. Confidence, right? I think your confidence is a learned habit. I think it's a learned behavior, right? You don't wake up like, I'm just so awesome and this is so great and I can do this, right? Believing in yourself and having that confidence on the phone is a learned behavior, right? Some people are like, oh, how'd you get so confident? I just did it a bunch of times. Riyadh wasn't confident on his first week. I remember when he started here, he was not like, oh, I'm Billy Badass going to do 400 grand tomorrow. Okay, he learned. The more confidence he got, the more objections he overcome, the more dials he made, the more leads he bought. His confidence and his ability to believe in himself in the business, which is a huge, powerful thing, right? And his ability to have that mindset started as he did it over and over and over and over again. Confidence is learned. So you can teach yourself confidence. I talk to people all the time. They're like, I don't know. I just don't believe in myself. And I'm like, well, the things that you have to do to get yourself to believe in yourself, right? As you get better, you're going to become more confident in your ability. Confidence is a learned behavior, right? Same thing. Like if you grew up and you were like really shy and really introverted and not really confident to talk to people, you're going to be that way your whole life until you start branching out, right? How did the shy person who was super introverted learn to become outgoing, learn to become outroverted, learn to become, how do I talk to people, whatever it is. Okay. So when that happens, like they had to start talking to people. So even in your daily life, how did the person who was not in shape learn how to become in shape? How did the person who was not confident in their looks and their bodies and whatever they look like physically, how did they become confident? Well, they went to the gym and they started feeling better about themselves and they started eating better and they started doing things that made them feel better about themselves. And they, again, in turn became more confident. So all of that stuff is learned behavior, guys. Those are the habits that you have to create. So Riyadh, I know you're, again, like one of the most disciplined people. What are your, and I know you just said, because you're like, I do the same thing every day. What are like 3 things that every single day, non-negotiable, that like are a habit for you?
Business wise.
It could be anything. It could be business, personal, link the 2 together.
Well, I make sure that I have, okay, so average 10 appointments a day is where I'm at. So I make sure I have that. If on one day I only have 4, then obviously the next day I'm going to have more than that. So that's one thing that I make sure. I want 50 to 60 appointments on my schedule every single week. That's the first thing. I get up at a decent time for the most part, not 5 a.m. Used to be. You don't have to wake up at 5 a.m. or 4 a.m. and have a morning routine to be successful. You just don't. I think Alex Hormozy, guy's a multi-millionaire. He had posted a thing where he's like, you don't have to make your bed. You don't have to wake up early. You don't have to journal. You don't have to. No. But when you do like actually start working, you got to be intentional with it. Right. So I think that's one thing that I've got really good at that I do every single day is when I am going to do my appointments or when I am going to do my recruiting, I am very intentional with it. And then I guess the next thing,
I think that's actually really important. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I think that's really important too, guys, is I'm not going on here and telling you I don't wake up at 5 a.m. either. Trust me, I wish I do. Sometimes I set my alarm for 5 and then I'm like, snooze, snooze, snooze. Okay, 6:15, I'm up. So I haven't eaten a salad and I don't know how long, and I'm not going to eat one. Today I got a salad and I only ate the cheese off of it. And I'm probably going to eat a Pop-Tart for this because I really like Pop-Tarts after this event. So I am by no means saying that you need to do all this crazy influencer stuff. Get up at 5 a.m. and run 17 miles and then dial all your leads. Like, that's not what we're saying. We're just saying whatever it is that you're doing, right? There's a lot of people in the business who've been very successful is just to do it with intention, right? You're not going to be successful having no habits, even if your habits aren't all that good, right? You can get up at 6:30 in the morning and still be very successful in business. I'm not saying to, you need to jump off trees and go skydiving every 2 weeks to make it happen, right? So Riyadh, I think that's really important for you to say that. Is like, I'm not saying you need to get up at 5 a.m. every single day. I'm just saying whatever you are doing, you have to be intentional and make it a habit.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people confuse like working with intentional work, right? Like, and I try and catch myself too, because I'm human, right? So I'll catch myself not actually working sometimes throughout the day. Maybe I'm like scrolling on Instagram or Facebook or whatever it is, right? Something that pulls my attention, excuse me. But I think like if you dial in the time that you are going to do and you are intentional with it, you will have much better results than you would otherwise. And I think the third thing is, and I'll tell you this, like I already know I do not need to be on Zoom to do 40 grand a month. I don't have to. I can do it by myself. I'm good at it. I've always been good at self-motivation, but that is one thing that I do every day. I get on Zoom, right? To make sure I'm on there in case my team needs me or, I can help anyone that's on there. I get on every single day that I'm working. So one thing that boggles my mind is that people don't get on or they don't unmute. When I first started, we only had one Zoom. I don't know if you remember, Marissa, it was FFL America. There's like 150 people on. Everyone had their camera on and there would be multiple people unmuting. When I started, it was extremely uncomfortable, but I was able to get coaching from people that were selling 40, 50 grand a month. Why would you not want that? Like you're literally getting a free training by someone that's has what you want, right? So you guys that are not getting on Zoom, you guys that are not unmuting, you guys that aren't asking questions, you're only hurting yourself.
Yeah.
Right?
And I love that.
Probably 3 things.
Yeah, that's huge. And because we're not talking about like buy the special lead tag. We're not talking about how to ask for the banking information. Like all this stuff, guys, literally can just be solved by your daily habits, your daily mindset, the way you think about yourself, the way you think about the business. Riyadh, I know you're super grateful. Like I'm like, and like Riyadh's even like beyond grateful. Like, it's like, I just would never do anything else. Like, I can't believe we even get to do this every single day.
Yeah, this is my family. I'm like, we're absolutely lucky. Like, I feel extremely fortunate to have this and to be able to do it. I'm like thinking in my mind, I hope life insurance never goes away or Family First Life doesn't go away, because I don't know what I would do. But that's how all in I am, right? I think if some of you guys haven't gotten to that point, if this is really what you want to do, get to that point, right? And I swear, like, I can put this on my mom, my dog, whatever. If every single person in this room did 30 appointments a week, they would be making really good money. They would be making 15, 20, 25, 30,000. If every single person did 30 appointments a week, that would be your result.
Yeah. Which is crazy.
That's literally what they told me to do. I went to convention like a week after I got licensed. I hadn't started yet, sat in the front row. And if you guys are going to convention, you should be doing this. Once again, intentionality. I went to convention, I sat in the front row, and I literally filled up an entire book of notes. Everyone was saying the same thing. Spend $1,000 a week on leads, dial the phone until you get 15 appointments for the next 2 days. You go out and run them. If you get no-showed, you either door knock or you dial on your phone. And then your next run day, 2 run days, you always work Saturdays. Your next 2 run days, you should have another 15 appointments. So multiple 400, 500 plus $1,000 producers got on stage and they said that. And when I got home, I looked through my notes and I'm like, well, everyone said the same thing. So all I got to do is follow that. Right. And there were times where I didn't have my appointment count and I didn't clock out at 6 to go have dinner, happy hour, or whatever. I stayed on until 9:30 until people were yelling at me because I'm calling so late. Right. So you guys that are not selling or not where you want to be, put the numbers in your favor. This business works. It absolutely works.
100%. I love that. Riyadh, thank you so much for your help, your conviction, your being all in, your gratitude for the business. Guys, that's all I have for you tonight. I just want to talk a lot about, just your mindset. I really, truly believe in. You can say it's stupid, and trust me, I used to think it was stupid too. I'm just telling you, everyone that I see that's successful in the business, and even my time that I've been the most successful, I've just had a better mindset. I've had more confidence. I've been more excited. I've been more grateful. I've been more upbeat. I don't let things get to me. As soon as I started to be negative, ungrateful, entitled, have a bad day and give up and be like, screw this, this sucks. The business treats you the same way you treat it. Every time I was bad to the business was bad to me. Every time I was good to the business, the business was good to me. And I really think if a lot of us can fix this up here, you're going to hit all your goals and pretty much anything that you need to hit. So Riyadh, thanks. Des, thanks. If you guys need help, thanks to everybody, guys. Make sure you guys register for convention and our award ceremony. I'm really excited. Your managers have worked really hard to make this happen. So I love you guys. Let's get back on the phones, and I will see you guys all on Live Dials tomorrow.